Hello everyone and welcome back to NLC Division 2 Day 10. My name is Alexandre Ashanomaya. I am paired with Jamada for the entire day. Ahead of us we have nice games. Cassidin versus Corky in the mid lane. Belveth is now available. Let's see if she builds Blood of the Ruin King alongside with Chemtech or if she's going for something better. I don't know. Welcome Jamada.
Yeah, it was quite funny because especially I think it was on the Thursday, I had Will messaging me throughout the games last week
Yeah, he
going,
told me.
"Hey, what's up with this, and this?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know." So I'm not sure what happened last I was gone, but guys, I can't swear on broadcast, but what was going on? What were you guys dropping?
Nani
I was
desu
so
ka?
confused when I was Nandayo kore. Like it was very strange. Some of the drafts, but
Uh,
what did come out of it was very interesting results, which have left the standings in quite a situation. It's feeling very reminiscent of spring at the moment, where we have one. Clear lead up. Thank you very much, Reed. I know it's a very smooth transition.
oh, amazing.
One very clear first place team at the moment, and then it's just this mess of if you go 0-2 this week and another team goes 2-0, you could go from second or third if your natives are right, all the way down to seventh place. So, yeah, it's just looking hectic. The mixer is absolutely crazy. The only thing that stayed relatively consistent is that London United, unfortunately, haven't really been able to pick anything up on the other side of the table, and Guarp and Lucent still kind of remain that team who, can kind of
Mhm.
on occasion take wins off of some pretty strong teams, but in the same breath, just haven't really been showing us, a lot to, get excited about so far, and hopefully that can change for those teams.
Remind yourselves that Division 2 will end up with relegations from Division 1. So,
Yes.
not only from Division 2, they will drop down to Division 3, but two teams from the top of the standings on Division 2 will have the opportunity to fight off versus the bottom tier of Division 1 to rise the mountain. And maybe, who knows, next split go on to European Masters to take on LFL. That is the only thing. Like European Masters nowadays is about fighting LFL. It's not even about winning. It's just
It's
fighting
it's
LFL.
it's the LFL Masters now. I think we've
It
established this.
is.
I've
Can we
I've
rename
heard,
it, rebrand
yeah,
it?
I wouldn't be surprised. Typically they don't reseed mid split, but I feel like we're actually maybe in a very weird time where at the moment it might be necessary. And I wouldn't be surprised, guys. Cover you busters. I know it's a very off topic from Div 2. If we end up seeing 4 LFL slots available for the region, in the same breath, hopefully that means we'll have 3 for the NLC, which would be very huge for us as well up in the top end. But moving back towards Division 2, of course, very important. I think especially when you look towards organizations that have already had success this year in Division 2,
Mhm.
like Natives, like Monster, and then, kind of right now in the present, like Lightside are having, super duper important to, get yourselves prepped and ready, and potentially in that position where you will be in promo relegation for Division 1, and then you have all of that long setup time towards spring, because that is definitely something that is very valuable, especially for some of these orgs who have pretty decent infrastructure, to give them that time. Obviously, between summer, between spring, the off season is long. It's 3 months, I think. Relegations typically happen, I think, in September, early October at the latest. So
Mhm.
a lot of time to prepare, and hopefully for our teams here in Division 2 towards the top end, they can stay towards the top end, and I'm definitely looking towards Monster. Natives obviously being the champions, and Lightside definitely the big surprise so far.
Big surprise. So, if you want to know what we have for you today, what surprises do we have in store for you today? I don't know if you can. There you go. It's going to be Guarp, Rising Dawn versus Guarp, followed up by Domino versus Rate, Light Side versus Natives, and then it's going to be London versus Munster Rugby Gaming, and Lucent will end it up with Unique at 10 o'clock, or at least we expect it to be at 10 o'clock Central European time. How are you doing, Jamada? By the way, we haven't talked in a long time, so
Yeah, it's been a while. Obviously I haven't
fizzle
made it back
water.
to. Okay, I'm gonna explain this joke because last split, Archer and I were both in the same hotel. I was there for about a week and a half. Now, I don't like sparkling water. Sparkling water to me tastes like TV static. It is just how it is. Now, in Berlin or in Germany, I suppose in general, it
Yeah.
seems to be actually that sparkled water or sparkling water is the preferred of the two between sparkling and still. So I accidentally, whilst I was in a shop, bought like 4 bottles of water because it said still on the bottle, and not only that, it was color coded because there's a color coding system with still and carbonated water, where I believe carbonated is pink and still is blue, or it's the other way around, I think. And I was under the impression that I just bought still water. I didn't. I just bought about 5 bottles of carbonated water. It was horrible. I was really thirsty. It was a warm day. Drank it, and my mouth just like dissolved on the spot. So it was horrible. But anyway, I've been doing great. Not been able to make it back to Spandau, unfortunately, to the NLC studio for a little bit. I will hopefully be returning soon, which is obviously the exciting part. But I'm more excited to look at today's games because I mean, especially I think it goes without saying, game 3 of the day: Natives versus Lightside. Lightside at the moment are our number 1 team. They've only dropped 1 game throughout the split, and I believe that was of all teams to Guarp, because Guarp are like the random Kingslayers of teams from now and again, which does technically kind of make, I won't say make game 1 interesting, but I think because Rising Dawn have shown very high ceilings, and then so have Guarp, I think depending on what variable or version of them we get, it could make game 1 entertaining. But game number 3 is where I'm looking at. I'm saying, especially for Natives, I think, because in that week 1 matchup, they were in a prime position to take down Lightside, and they just kind of threw it away. So we'll see what happens when we get to that point. But we are here for picks and bans. Guarp versus Rising Dawn, of course, is the first game of the day, and we get to focus on that one a little bit more. Guarp not making the same mistake I believe they did in their first matchup against Rising Dawn, and removing away Vangsted's Camille.
We talked about Vangsted. It can be, well, 2 sides of a coin, I would say. You can be the good part or the Vangsted that we all fear to get on our team in solo queue. So Camille is going to be removed, but remind yourselves that if Guarp takes this one, you're going to get 4-6, and Rising Dawn will also get 4-6, and that's going to shift the standings a lot. Just as Yamada was saying, the standings right now are a complete mess. Belveth is available, but for that you need lanes that facilitate. And in this patch, the way we're playing on the durability patch, it's easier to have a setup jungler instead of a setup lane. So I don't know if you're going to get a lot of sides from Belveth, especially because it's Division 2, so everything can happen. I'm not questioning it. I just want to see it. Yumin is removed, but Zeri is available.
Yeah, not only is Zeri available, but so is Senna. So what will the decision be? Oh no. Oh no!
Oh, well.
It's happening.
Where's Kassadin? Give it to me!
Yeah, I can hear the Kassadin. Vangsted's giving me the Kane hover, which I can obviously always appreciate. But I think, yeah, looking towards someone like Zeri, someone like Senna, if you want it as well. Vangsted knows he is definitely a big lover of the cast today. But loads of really strong options available. Also, of course, the Kalista. It's not something that I feel like we very consistently see, even at ERL level, in the NLC at the very least. I feel like it's not something that pops up frequently, but when it does bring a very, very high execution floor, especially when you bring something like the Volibear with it, because that says, okay, we're playing strong towards the bottom side. We're going to probably, I wouldn't be surprised to see Rising Dawn hold their support pick until they either have Guarp reveal it so they can get counter pick, or just hold it all the way until R5, because Kalista, once one of most AD carries, is going to out skirmish directly. So what you want is a positive support matchup as well to just continue to facilitate that strong 2v2. Guarp are going to pick up the Gnar in the same rotation. So top side, very safe. Mid lane, scaling. That we kind of need, as I would expect, either an AD carry or a jungler in this slot, because you see both of them already revealed. If you want to go towards the AD carry, plenty of options. I'm not really going to give one or the other. I think the pool is far too open, and Guarp as a team have fielded so many AD carries that there's not really a point trying to pinpoint, but they will go towards the Jhin. Jhin, definitely something that can play a bit of a range, but definitely can struggle if Kalista gets right on top of her. And Rising Dawn, they're going to go for the Gangplank. So this is honestly really troublesome, because Gangplank in lane to Gnar, it can definitely suck when Gnar's in the range form. He can kind of pick on you a little bit more, take off, really sort of be a bit of a menace in terms of the 1v1 with the barrels, but Gangplank's just going to outscale him in towards the team fights. Not only that, level 6, having the Cannon Barrage available means that he always gets to use it towards the bottom side to just help what is already a very strong Kalista lane have even more resources thrown towards her.
The pressure on the bot side for Rising Dawn is amazing. Let's see how Guarp are going to reply with that one. Fred Spaghetti with the Jhin, that's the usual one. I was looking into this Kalista and I was thinking maybe you can bring in the Renata. Renata is one of those champions that has been paired a lot with the Kalista, so that could be a possibility. But as you said, well, they're the ones removing it away, so they have a plan. If they see the Jhin and they're like, well, it's kind of squishy, low mobility, we have Kalista, we need to farm Jhin.
Yeah, definitely very interesting that they're the ones that have gone for the Renata ban. Of course, like you say, it's a very common 2v2 that gets picked up alongside the Kalista. Guarp taking away the Nautilus as an engage option. I wonder if they'll also go towards the Leona just to have them both removed, or whether or not they feel like maybe they want it. Instead, they're going to go towards the Silas, which definitely recently has had a pretty strong showing into Corki lanes in the early stages, but so is Ari. Ari is actually just as strong, if not stronger, into the Corki. You have a lot more kill threat. You can follow him past the Valkyrie as well at level 6, because you have 3 charges of the Spirit Rush, so Rising Dawn, very happy to take that one. You're going to have early lane priority as well. And right now, they have the full setup for a Kalista draft. They have a safe top side, which is going to be able to provide global support towards the bottom side. They have what, in theory, should be a winning 2v2. I don't think any jungler in the game can really salvage, trying to out-skirmish Volibear plus Ari when you already have Corki locked in. So they're going to go towards the Udyr and just play the scaling and the farming game instead. So now Rising Dawn have effectively agency in what should be all 3 lanes to a point. With the top side, it's definitely a bit of an asterisk, but Guarp have to pick up something for Nugget here, which is going to make a bit of an impact in terms of trying to shut down this Kalista lane or shut down some of the dives. I mean, my mind definitely goes towards something like the Braum, but again, Braum, Jhin, not necessarily the best combination in tandem. Thresh definitely deals a little bit better, but the issue is kind of falls victim to the likes of a Volibear dive, because once level 6 comes in, he just turns off the tower. The CC that you can normally put down isn't really going to stop the dive itself from happening. So I think Rising Dawn have a really good opportunity to just pick up a support that they feel like is going to be absolutely fine in the matchup, but also just facilitate the 2v2. And whilst traditionally Thresh is actually considered a more positive matchup into Braum, if memory serves me right, being able to lay down the concussive blows for the Kalista and then have Volibear also show up and try and shut down any kind of response, I think is what makes this matchup work probably fine in practice. We'll obviously get to see it once we're in game, but Volibear plus the concussive blow stack up with the Kalista, Rend, and Spear stack up, I think it's just going to be super duper impressive, especially when you start to factor in mid lane priority, top side cannon barrage too. Guarp are going to have a lot to work with, or have to deal with rather. They don't really have a lot to work with. It's Rising Dawn, in my opinion, that have all of the agency.
Fed, yeah, IRL is going to have a massive impact in this game if he's allowed to. Every single lane, except the GP, as you said before, you don't really have a way to lock it in, but every single lane will be a top priority for him. I really want to see how Golem is going to reply to that one, because we often see Golem farm a lot, especially with Udyr, which means Volibear will be left by himself, unattended. Nobody's going to stop him from ganking. I don't see Guarp surviving the early game, but if they do survive the early game, Jamada, do you see a mid game where they can thrive with 2 items on Corki or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the key thing, right? Getting to 2 items. Once they're there, and if we're talking about being an item parity, I think there's a lot of wiggle room for Guarp to work with, but I think the issue is things like the Gangplank maybe start to come into effect, where all it really takes with GP is just one good barrel chain where it's a crit, and then you can just immediately win a team fight. I think Rising Dawn, whilst yes, in theory, they do get a little bit outranged by the Corki in the later stages, they don't really have the best forms of engage. Neither do Guarp, so I feel like we could either end up in one or 2 situations where if Rising Dawn don't snowball the early game, like you say, Guarp scaling will come online and eventually Corki will be king. But again, theory is one thing, what happens in practice is very much another. I think definitely getting in front of objectives first is going to be very crucial for both of these sides, things like choke control as well, just simply because of the lack of engage and the relatively short range of most of the champions in this game, and a lot of the pick potential. So I see definitely whoever has priority in the lanes around the objectives leading up to sort of like 3rd dragon spawn onwards is going to have a lot more success in trying to, either taking leads or, if you're in Guarp's case, delaying the game to get to item spikes where you feel comfortable to contest the enemy team.
A game that is going to allow either Rising Dawn to run away from the standings where they are, or Guarp to catch up versus their opponents. We finally head to Rift. Let's see if any keystone is surprising, aside from the lethal temporal golem, something that people are using more often. Oh, Fed IRL brought in the Predator.
So it's definitely not something we see too often these days. Of course, Evolved was something that was very common. Just gives Volibear that extra bit of gap closing capability. And I think in a game like this, where he has 2 fairly slippery carries, right? Fred Spaghetti is going to have Fresh as a sort of safety net option, and of course the Corki has the Valkyrie. Having the extra bit of movement speed when you're going towards enemy champions, definitely going to go the distance, no pun intended, in trying to close that gap. So definitely a smart rune choice, because realistically, all of the other choices like press the attack, Conqueror, you're not really going to be proccing those very frequently per se. PTA is not really going to give you much. You are definitely more of a setup tool. I think the Predator definitely is going to help facilitate that playstyle a little more than any of his other rune options would have.
So I needed to get something important because I have an injury and I just needed to attend it really fast. But we are back in the game. No, I got you. It's,
okay.
We're working. Okay, level 2. Where do you see the online of Limitless alongside with Fire Forever?
I mean, I think for them, they're just going to have a whole bunch of priority threats. Get and Nugget are really going to have to, kind of take a backseat, try and ensure that they don't have waves stacked on them. So it makes Rising Dawn's ability to try and find dives a little harder. Vangstead is really getting the better end of some of the early trades, but he's gone a bit far. And the health trade, honestly, in that instance, maybe not too bad for Viggo Mopson. Definitely having a pretty good early phase. And definitely, it's why I say, in Mega, Gangplank can get the better of this matchup in the early stages before level 6 is available. But when he's in Mini, he is very squishy and susceptible to a lot of the Gangplank poke, especially once the Sheen comes in. As FireL makes his way towards the bottom side, isn't able to find anything on this instance. And we'll just move back away towards the Skull Crab. So already Rising Dawn trying to show a little bit of pressure towards the bottom side. Won't find anything in this instance. And on the opposite side, Galen is just going to make his way towards that top side Skull Crab, as he knows FireL was on the bottom side.
Denzel still with the priority, not leaving this Corki. And this is something that I've seen more and more often on Division 1. Players versus the Corki just trying to pressure as much as they can on the early game, not allowing the Corki to have an easy early game, especially with the electrocutes. I would like to see if Denzel is going for the Luden's Echo and then the book, so somewhere in the world's Nightmare is happy. Even if he's not watching Division 2, he will be happy somehow. But Viggo Mopson just getting bullied non-stop. Mana is running out, but I do believe at 23 minions, you can go back to get your Sheen and as a GP and just TP back.
Great knowledge, yeah, give or take. It also depends on the time. Maybe you have a bit of a poor laning phase, but give or take, if you're perfect CSing, normally you can base on about wave 5, maybe wave 6, get your Sheen, teleport back to lane, and that's when the poke gets really, really oppressive. Viggo Mopson, though, definitely has the correct setup. You're right. Fleet plus that Doran shield, maybe even has second wind as well. Nugget not going to get picked on for that death sentence. Definitely stepped a little far forward for that. On the top side, definitely we'll see a whole bunch of regeneration. Nothing more to really say. Definitely Rising Dawn, not on a timer, but I was about to say they want to get aggressive soon. And they're going to find the stun onto Nugget.
Aggression is on Nugget. They can flash away. They can run the enemy, but it's not enough damage. Fred Spaghetti now trying to run, but gets the concussive blows. Is forced to flash as well. Oh, that sentence goes to Riot Games flag on that one. I don't know what he was aiming for, but at this point, they burn almost every single summoner spell on the bot side. Only Ignite is available.
Yeah, only the Ignite on Nugget's side, but I feel like this is probably a little more beneficial for Rising Dawn, even though it's the Kalista and the Braum, also without summoner spells. The fact that FireL has Predator, all it really takes is for Guarp to overstep just once, and then the gank can come in, and that can very quickly turn into things like a dragon, that can very quickly turn into things like a huge stacked up wave mist. Options definitely very open for Rising Dawn on this top side. You have to see whether or not they can abuse a window that Guarp may give them. Now, Vangstead being pressured a little bit by Galen as that wave crashes in, and will just go back to base and find himself what I expect to be a Sheen. And the trades haven't really been going the Nars way so far. Expect them to continue to get a little bit worse now with that Sheen, just given how they have been playing out these trades so far in the early game.
Can I see the top lane to see how the lane is? Okay, the lane is on a really good spot for Viggo Mopson, so this means that Vangstead needs to go in, and talking about going in for the kill for Nugget, getting themselves the first blood, but pay attention to the top side because Vangstead is forced to go into the middle of the lane to farm, and this is a good window for the dude to go in. There you go, there's the ghost, there's the stun, there's no orange that's going to push you away from that. Kalen Barrage is going to be instantly pulled in to make sure he can farm and then freeze himself, but in the end, he dies in the process.
Yeah, I mean, he dies, but he gets most of that wave. It's also going to crash, so it's a 1-for-1. Vangstead ends up dying, flashes as well. Guarp, definitely a good gank, trying to punish themselves, losing Nugget on the bottom side, but still, it doesn't really feel too bad for Vangstead in the moment, just because the wave state isn't going to be frozen on him. No chance of an immediate repeat gank is going to occur. Spoke about Nugget not having flash on the bottom side and how you'd expect to see Rising Dawn try and punish that lane quite quickly. It seems like they just caught him on the map open, if anything. And FireL just flashes on his face, and then that very quickly has turned into a dragon. So now Rising Dawn have an Ocean in 4 minutes if they are able to get themselves priority towards it. And also the Herald to contest in just under 60 seconds time. So expect to see Rising Dawn try and move around the map with Firewall, with Find Forever as a duo perhaps, or maybe even just move the entire bot lane up towards the top side if they can get a crash on the bottom side to pick up this Herald, because when you have Kalista, that's one of her core strengths, the early skirmishing. So you really want to try and pick up as many of those early objectives as possible, whilst you still can utilize the true strength of the champion.
But in the end, Guarp are playing this really well as well. If you look into Kalista Limitless, I was expecting him to at least have 1 kill, 2 kills. Maybe Fatty IRL would go to the bot side to try and give more, at least 1 kill, due to the fact that there's no summoner spells on the enemy side. But Jhin has stayed alive, and this is one of the members that I do believe Guarp can use alongside with the mid laner Corki to hold that mid game and not allow Kalista to be relevant. And when you get to the late game, it's going to be really hard for Kalista to be Kalista.
Yeah, definitely so. I feel like she's not going to have the easiest of time in terms of making it into the back line. Because she's not being accelerated, she's not exactly going to mince through the front line that Guarp have for themselves either. But we're finding a pick here onto Nugget.
Nugget, no flash, no life yet again. Falls for the second time. They're piling on this support. They're getting some kills for themselves. And there we go. Kill on the mid lane, kill on the jungle. Bot side still a little bit shy with a lot of wards. Bigom Mobsum tries to approach in this mid lane. It seems like they want to get priority on the Herald due to the fact that Kalista is on the bot side and Fred Spaghetti is now trying to rotate it to that top side. I don't know if they can do this though.
No, and this is the problem. Rising Dawn have the pressure from the mid lane, even though they have pressure on the top side. Guarp, the issue is Vangster can always shove in that wave and then also collapse on them. And now Limitless on the bottom side just has free time to shove in the wave, and it's even going to force Viggo Mobsum to teleport towards the bottom side. So all in all, it's definitely a win for Rising Dawn. They get the teleport, they stop Guarp from picking up the Herald, and they also picked up Nugget at the very start of that play. So W's all around for them. Vangstead just going to give Caleb a cheeky
shot on the face. I know you're dead. Don't even try.
Yeah, but actually Galen is here. They could try and make it 50-50, but I think realistically, this is always Rising Dawn's to win. So they'll find the smite. Even a cheeky triple barrel, and Vangstead's even going to shove in that wave on the top side. So a lot invested by Guarp into the top side. Limitless could be in trouble.
He doesn't get the stun on the wall, though. Only the W was connected to get some sort of CC.
Don't even feel like he had to use the cleanse either in that particular situation. I think maybe felt a little bit threatened.
You get nervous, you know. You get nervous.
Yeah,
you start shaking.
And you start shaking a little bit. This Herald, definitely a pretty early drop. We'll still at the very least pick up 2 plates and share between 3 members. Smite comes in, no big swing, no third plate. 100 gold into the pockets of Fire Denzel, and Find Forever's going to feel okay for now. Definitely, I mean, in terms of the context of the game, you really would have wanted to have seen that go into Kalista's back pocket, though. So, Rising Dawn, we'll see what they want to get done. Maybe the idea is when you have these kind of, mages, air quotes, like Corki in the mid lane, you want to just try and remove that tier 1 as soon as possible to open up the map and try and get some early rotations in from the mid lane priority. So could be the thought process here. We'll see what benefit it actually yields for them if they are able to pick up the second Herald and take down that tower very early on into the game. But like you were kind of pointing out, Limitless, he's not really accelerated in this game, right? He's got his Berserker Grease, sure. He's going to, I expect, build towards that shield bow as soon as possible. But Fred Spaghetti isn't inherently, well, he's down 20 CS and he's also down 2 levels. So maybe he's quite far behind now. Only 1 level now, but the issue is if he gets picked off here, he's definitely going to miss a lot of CS. We'll see how he decides to handle himself after these 2 creeps.
If they see the Thresh, I think they're going to call on him. Flash from Brom, gets the ultimate. They saw Nuggets.
They see Nuggets, and they're still being patient on the bottom side. They're going for it.
Fred, oh! Look at the boobs! Look at the plays!
So it's a flash for flash. Even if Fred Spaghetti gets clipped by I think it's the Winter's Bite, it wouldn't have really mattered too much. I don't think there would have been chase potential anyway, just because the flash over the wall was such a big one. Albeit, maybe the concussive blows could have been stacked up, but they're going for the same play again. Fire this time isn't going to make it into either bush.
He's gone.
He's gone.
You did
but
me
what is
one
happening?
time, you cannot do it again.
Yeah, but what is happening is Guarp are taking up this dragon, and I just don't think Rising Dawn are in a position to actually contest it. So this will be a free drag going over to the blue side team. Whether they can find a skirmish on the back end, it seems like the answer is no. Nuggets going to ward out the Frost Bear, and that'll be it. But Vangstead will pick up At least a plate. I think he picked up one previously.
Yeah, but look at this, Yamada. It seems in reality that Garp are trying to do something, looking for objectives, but effectively it is Rising Dawn picking plates across the map, giving a lead to Callista, trying to get the objective of the adult. Every single time Garp are getting something, I believe Rising Dawn are getting something and more.
Yeah, I feel like Rising Dawn have definitely been the slightly bigger benefactors of a lot of these cross-map plays going on so far in this game. My only concern is, Callista, she can be a strong late game champion. It is a bit contextual. Typically, yes, she does fall off into the later stages. I think it's one of those games where it could be the case. And the fact that she isn't really getting super accelerated is definitely a bit of a cause for concern. Just because sometimes the champion's effectiveness can be limited quite easily by a very menial amount of CC. Denzel in the mid game could provide something there. Going for the all-in though.
Fred Spaghetti doesn't have flash, remind yourselves of that, but here comes the mid laner. Corki is capable of saving the day. Concussive Blows means nothing as Vengst on the top side presses the R and gets himself a kill. Double kill for the Corki, one for Vengst.
Yeah, definitely a big win for Guarp there, because I think Rising Dawn, just a little bit of miscommunication. I really feel like that cannon barrage has to come down at the very start of the dive. Fred Spaghetti doesn't actually have flash. Once the Gale Force is down, drop the cannon barrage as well. Limitless and Fine Forever getting a little bit too deep. And I also think that Braum missed the knock-up onto the Jhin. I'm actually not too sure. I'm not sure if we can get a replay of the dive or not. Definitely would like to get confirmation on what exactly went wrong in the execution there, because in theory that dive should work almost every single time. The issue is Corki makes it down towards the bottom side quite quickly in response and picks up 2 kills, which is only going to slingshot him to that 2-iron mark, which we spoke about being the core strength of a lot of Guarp's composition itself. Fred Spaghetti 2 IMs, Corki 2 IMs. Let's get a look at the dive. So kicks off with the winner's bike. The Lantern comes in. Callista R gets called. Flash of the Death Sentence is great. The knock-up does come in. It just feels like the exhaust hinders so much of the damage. And the Rend just never quite comes through, and that's why Fred Spaghetti takes so long to die. But you really do have to feel, where was that cannon barrage? It should have definitely been called in a lot sooner. Communication across the map, not quite up to suit from what you would maybe want to see from Rising Dawn.
But Yamada, those were at least 12 spears in the body, man.
It was quite a few spears, yeah. A lot of Rend stacks were definitely there.
Not hitting that one maybe would be the damage that you would
I feel like
to get the kill. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the trigger could have been pulled earlier, and then I won't say there was chance for turn towards the Corki, but at the very least you could give yourself an opportunity to try and find some kind of outplay, however unlikely it would have been. Rising Dawn, still, they're up about 1,000 gold or so. Items have started to come in. Mythics across the board, with the exception of Limitless and Fine Forever, but you expect that shield bow will come in quite quickly. And you have to remember, of course, Callista likes to pick up the tier 2 boots for her passive. So that is kind of the difference maker for now. That's why Fred Spaghetti has Gale Force and Limitless does not have a Mythic, because Denzel
2v2.
Here with FireL, yeah, 2v2.
The Fox has been caught, but instantly Cannon Barrage is there and believe that Nugget is left alone, pulls himself the clock, see what time it is. It's time to get the lightning on your back as Fat ARL is going to use his ultimate to just leave the scene as Galan approaches in the Phoenix stance. Denzel does get the charm, does get the damage, but it's an Udyr. You don't have enough for that one. With the Sunfire already built in, you gotta let it go.
Yeah, and this is definitely going to be a bit of a problem, I feel, as things progress, because Udyr can be an absolute nightmare to take down. If he's pretty accelerated, he's farming quite well. 120 CS for 15, 16 minutes. Definitely not bad CS numbers by any means. And again, there's not really a true tank shredder on the side of Rising Dawn. Definitely have a lot of burst damage on the front line from Ahri, from Gangplank. Definitely no denying that. But, if we start to hit a situation where Galem, has Frozen Heart, has maybe just a little bit of magic resist to deal with Denzel's damage as well, it's going to take a very long time to kill this Udyr. He's going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with. Vangstead on the top side should be able to pick up most of that tower, maybe even the tower itself with Trial by Fire passive. We'll just about get it before Vigo is able to interrupt him. So first tower of the game, or second, I believe, goes over to Rising Dawn.
Where is the first one? Yeah, the mid lane. The mid lane for Rising Dawn, they got him as well. Now with the first Herald, and talking about Herald, Herald is available right now. 60 minutes in, they could pull the trigger on another one, open up the map, either it be Guarp or even Rising Dawn. And Infernal Drake is online, so that is going to be the soul, the first one to get it. We'll probably try to claim that soul as well. Such an important soul in this game. There's a lot of damage for this one. Fed IRL cannot ease the damage. Like, oh, Limitless was caught. Cleanse instantly. He lost the summer spell for the slap.
Yeah, yes, she did. And that's definitely the power of the bear stance, right? And now Guarp, we spoke about having first move onto these objectives is going to be huge because neither of these teams have a whole bunch of engage. That cannon barrage is definitely nice to kind of split apart the team a bit, but what will it achieve?
Nugget flashes in, gets the box to try and slow down Denzel, and that is a package that is not dealing any sort of damage. They're separated right now, and here comes the big Mopson, but there's no follow-up damage. They're trying to delete him on the background. It means that Golem is just alone 1v2, and in the end, it's 1v4. Fat IRL is the only one dying, as Corky is trying to buy as much time as he can. The ward comes in to try to get vision. Blast Cone is there. He's going to try and turn the Limitless. He doesn't have vision of him. He's waiting for cooldowns though. Pause for his bomb. Gets the vision. Oh, you're so lonely right now. You're so lonely. We need assists. Man down. And it's an ace at the end of the day. But two members already respawn.
Yeah, delayed ace there for Rising Dawn. They lose the dragon, but they pick up the fight, and that's absolutely huge for them. Yes, again, there's no early threat of an Infernal Soul coming in, but winning a fight like this at a time like this gives them such a huge gold lead. We spoke about how it was just over 1,000 maybe 2 minutes ago. It's now over 4. Absolutely huge pickups there across the board, and now you look towards the inventories. That's where things start to get a little bit scary. Collector picked up for Vangstead. Second item on its way for the likes of Denzel. Last Whisper even on top of that as well. So not only is he going to blow up the squishies, but the tanks are going to pretty much melt the barrel damage. Get a replay coming. So Denzel over the wall. The cannon barrage splits apart a lot of Guarp, and he's able to pick out a lot of Nugget's health bar. You can see Fine Forever with that Glacial Fissure actually slows down a lot of what Guarp are trying to do, and it actually enables Vangstead on the top side of the fight alongside FireL to just immediately remove the Jhin. On the bottom side, Vigo misses out on that Nara armor, and unfortunately, because they aren't able to lock down Limitless and Denzel, the follow-up damage from Corki is just simply not there. Vangstead eventually arrives from his top side 2v1 with Volibear, and then is able to almost bring down the Corki. Chases up on Vigor Mopson instead, and eventually you just see a chase down of both those members as we come out of the replay almost immediately back into some action. Galen, it looks like, had to blow that ghost, so not going to have that available for the next couple of minutes.
2 items on Corki. That is the big window. Gale Force is not enough for the Jhin to deal any sort of damage, and I believe that the Frozen Heart will come next for Golem. So we're looking into a few windows for Guarp, but if you look into the other side, Collector already done. Genzu finished right now by Limitless.
Yeah,
usually people go for the Rage Knife and go for the Hurricane, but I believe he really wants that third attack.
Yeah, so I feel like the thing is, at the moment for Kalista, she's not really going to be hitting multiple members of Guarp at the same time. In more instances than not. So the Runans isn't really going to have too much value. Just immediately rushing the Gwinsus instead definitely will help her damage output spike a little bit harder. And I mean, to be honest with you, think about how much gold she just got exploded into her wallet, right? 15 minutes, she didn't even have the shield bow finished up. 5 minutes later, she has an entire another second item. Kalista is definitely a mid-game threat now. I'm not sure really what Guarp can do. They have 2 items on the Corki at the very least. So that'll be something to work with. They could have a pick here onto Fine Forever, but he's so tanky.
He's so tanky, he's going to get pulled by Kalista. Limitless can throw him right back in. But Fine Forever is not going to be fine right now. As Viggo Mopson goes in, tries to get the Mega, he just scratches the floor, and everybody's laughing at him. He's going to take Limitless. Another kill for Kalista, double kill right now. This is complicated because this was a 4v5, Jamada.
Yeah, that's the thing. Vangstead only has to drop the cannon barrage. He's still on the side lane. He's going to pick up 600 gold for this tower. Corki and Jhin are going to have to come back down towards the bottom side and answer. And Rising Dawn, they are just winning out massive. And this is the thing, right? Guarp just aren't quite on spike yet. Yes, Corki is online. Yes, he is definitely going to be a threat, but right now just doesn't have the damage to deal with a lot of the burst that's coming out from Rising Dawn. Able to find the pick, and again, you know, Guarp, they go on to the one member realistically who is, you know, A, at the moment, in my eyes, the tankiest member of Rising Dawn, and then B, not only that, has the Kalista armor attached to him, so the re-engage is absolutely superb from Rising Dawn. They're able to just turn that one around for free.
6-11, 2 dragons, but 45 seconds means they can finally tie this one up for Rising Dawn. Another Infernal on a GP Kalista and even Yari, who went for the Everfrost, so that made it sad, but That's a good thing for us, I would say. Still no second item for Fred Spaghetti. And he's a big believer of the Jin, but if you fall behind like this, is there a way to get back up? I know Sylvester Stallone talks about that constantly.
It's it's the
I
the
don't
thing
know,
is that
man.
Jin isn't like inherently, the kind of AD carry that you build your composition around, right? He has a lot of facilitation tools in his kit, right? Captive audience, the ultimate as well. Uh, there is a lot of CC and damage that can come out, but it just takes a lot of time to get there. And it just feels like Guap not really able to utilize that when they are dealing with the Kalista lane. And now
Ooh.
it's Rising Dawn who are going to pick up this dragon. Now the fight's going to ensue.
Gollum wants to run away. Think of Austin can jump. The lantern is there, but he's stunned for an eternity. And they lose a member in 22 minutes. You know what this means, Yamada? With a Kalista? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, package had to get blown. I didn't even see.
You got bullied as well.
Yeah, I didn't even see how Hansis got chunked out there. So Corki uses the package. And you imagine this has to be Rising Dawn's Baron through and through. If Guap try and contest this, they should just die. I don't think they really have the tools available to them right now to really make something work. That's a frontliner, by the way.
They got Momsen getting way too low. Everfrost almost connects. Finally, Corki is here to try and save the day, but he's only able to save one part of this fight. Oh, they pull in the Braum. Is he gonna use it? No, it pulls him back now. You're way too low. We need you for the fight if required. Go back, heal yourself. We'll fight this another day. So it's a sacrifice of Nugget for the Baron, so it's not bad in the end for Guarp.
No, in the most optimistic way possible, this is maybe the biggest win that Guap could have hoped for in the situation, because Rising Dawn don't start the Baron, they look for the turn because Guap kind of check into them. They pick up one, they tried to go for more because I think Rising Dawn realized that they'd played their time, but Guap are able to disengage efficiently enough to not lose any more members. And now the game is probably going to stalemate out for a little bit longer until another objective comes up. The Rising Dawn can force a fight around, unless they can set up on the top side in the next minute and a half or so, then force Guap to come into them on this Baron. We'll see what the case is, as it seems like Limitless should have a third iron ready to go. I believe it will be the Runeans, like you said. Feel like, to be honest with you, Armor Pen would maybe go a little the distance here, but of course, being able to chuck out multiple spears, get rend on multiple targets is always super powerful, so maybe it comes out as a 4th iron instead of a 3rd. But again, Rising Dawn, super strong right now, right? 3.5 items on Bankstead up in the top side, 3 items ready and available for Limitless, and even in the mid lane, Denzel only staying on 2 items, still a very powerful combination of items to be sat on. All of the additional Magic Pen coming out from the boots and that Shadow Flame. It's going to mean all it'll take is one combo to heavily chunk out Fred Spaghetti and Skamer. Where did that Cannon Barrage get dropped?
It was used just... Okay, there you go. Mid lane. Probably to try and stop any bounty from being claimed by Guarp. They really need some sort of bounties, but every single lane is pushing against them, and they need to defend. If Gnar shows himself on the bot side, they can just rotate to the Baron, try to summon a few summoner spells. And I believe they don't want to burn a few summoner spells. They want to go for Fred Spaghetti. And there you go. He's going to run away, but there's no way away from the bed at this point. Gollum now is on the Shades versus Bankstead, but there's no damage to pile on that one. You're a Nudir. You slap, you stun, you do a little bit of damage, but you're not a burst champion.
Yeah, not Terran. Not exactly a burst champion. Exactly. They do.
Are you saying Volibear is better than Udyr as a bear?
Well, Volibear is an actual bear, so.
Whoa.
Yes. Yeah, at that actually, he is a god bear.
I'm not diving into this topic anymore.
It is just like a man in a suit who happens to like be in touch with
What do you
nature.
mean? He believes he's a bear, and a phoenix, and a tiger.
And a monkey.
Yes!
So, it's passive, yeah.
A lot of people forget about the monkey part, yeah.
Yeah, they remember the 4 stances, but they always forget the passive. Monkey being
But he's getting rework, and everybody's talking about how good he's going to be, because I don't think Riot has ever invested so much time in a specific rework. So my expectations for Udyr are quite high. I don't know why it's monkey's agility, and that's a wolf. But you know.
It's... Wait, is it?
It is. Can we show it again, please? Yeah, there you go. Is that a monkey for you?
That's definitely not a monkey. That's... I mean, look, it is it is one of the few champions in the game that probably still has his base icons from like 2010 or whenever it was released. I'm pretty sure
Yes.
he was one of the original
Yes.
like 40, was he not? So
Yes.
uh
I think he still has Doritos hands on one of the skins.
oh
so-
yeah, oh yeah, his base skin is still very much PS2 model. Like it's
And I love it, okay? I
oh yeah,
love it.
so do I. Every now and again when I play Udyr, I just run the base skin, even though I've got Spirit Guard Udyr and maybe some of his nicer skins. Like
You got
it just
lucky.
feels nice to get back to that,
For the
that
old
old
days.
feel. Yeah.
For
Now
the old days.
Rising Dawn, they're gonna pick up their third dragon in the game. It doesn't look like Guarp really in a position to win that. And funnily enough, I actually won Spirit Guard Udyr in a bet between my friend. As a I'm gonna have to hold this story because Guarp, they're just trying to force the issue on the Sparrow. And the issue is, because the teleport is on that control ward, Rising Dawn know it's happening.
They
And not only
know,
that, they
yeah.
were already in the area. Firel's
Instantly
on the
get
opposite side of
access
the
to
pit.
that vision.
Oh,
Vangstead is
man.
approaching, but look at Limitless. Limitless is going to take a while to approach this one. This could be the
Oh.
fight. The smite is there. The objective as well.
The mosh
Curtain
pit.
falls. As Monte Spaghetti is trying to get as much damage as he can, but he needs to run away. They need to save this buff. Nugget will try to do it as well, but the Riz will slow him down and the vision will be applied onto him as Braun falls on top of him. And everybody dies! You get the objective, you get the baton, but at what cost, Yamada?
It looks like the cost could very well be the game. They have another wave on its way in the mid lane. 25 seconds at the very earliest for a member, and that's just the thresh. I think they can push us 5 and just end off the back of the next minion wave that comes in. Galen has about 15. I think this is game right here, right now. Next minion wave is going to come out of the base. Horizon Dawn, it's felt like a bit of an eventuality because Guarp just haven't been able to stand up to all the damage. Guarp, they pick up the Baron, but it looks like it's going to be the very classic Baron for Nexus trade. Horizon Dawn are going to move up to 5 and 5.
Nexus is exposed. Udyr is going to respond, but what can you do aside from barking at this point? It's going to be another victory for Rising Dawn as they try to get more KDA. Minions are able to finish this one. It was getting kind of sweaty, but with 19-6, that is a solid victory for Rising Dawn.
Yeah, definitely some early concerns, right? It didn't really seem like they were pushing a huge lead in the early game with the Callista, but when it came to the mid game, I think it was really around that third dragon where the gold lead just absolutely exploded for what felt like no reason. Yes, they won a fight in an ace fashion, but to, pick up well over 2,000 gold from that team fight and this, really, really, keep the snowball rolling fast because it felt like there was no real shove from Rising Dawn for about 15 minutes in that game. Definitely super impressive, and it just felt like Guarp didn't have a leg to stand on, right? No agency in the early game. They were really fully relying on scaling. Some ERL Corky gaming didn't work out for them, unfortunately. The Corky first pick just meant that realistically, Rising Dawn just had a whole bunch of prior in the early game, even though they didn't necessarily play it to perfection in terms of securing every single early game objective. It didn't matter because they got so strong by the 25-minute mark that even though the second item started coming for Guarp, there was just no standing up to the damage that was available to Rising Dawn, and all it took was one bad death time at around 28 minutes to end the game there.
A decisive win for Rising Dawn at this point, and we're going to make a quick break before we jump back into the interviews with the players. So I'll see you soon. Don't go anywhere.